Because after the liberation from slavery in mid-19th centuries, the Roma stayed close to these owners. So you find big settlements of Roma in villages who are around monasteries or around big domains of aristocracy. So even today, when you look to the map where Roma are, it's configured partially to the slavery. And this is the time, I mean, mid-19th century, we became to be treated as human beings. Let's hope, but it was not that. And another thing which I want to say about slavery, it was not done because people believed that this is the right way to do it. There were some Romanian illuminated minds, and they were like Romanian intellectuals who have really driven this, these politics, to whom Roma today are very thankful, and they always praise them. But the aristocrats, they were paid back by the state to liberate Roma. So the aristocrats and the church didn't do it by belief or because they thought that this is the right way to do it. It was a law, and they were compensated by the Romanian state for the number of the slaves they had. So it was no religion driven, even though if you are a Christian, you think everybody should be treated equally and not keep in slavery. But we speak about 14th and 15th century when Christians did many, many things. It was not driven by political ideology. It was not driven by any, moral beliefs. And it was driven by this law, and all the aristocrats were compensated for the liberation of Roma. So basically, if I want to make a comparison of the EU politics on Roma, policies on Roma, this is the same thing today happening. All the pre-accession countries to the European Union, they were forced by the European Union and compensated by the European Union to implement policies on Roma. So in a way, there's no period in this history when the policies for Roma and goodwill for Roma came from inside. There were some other people imposing on other people to do it. So in Romania, even today, the politics on Roma are not from this political will to do good things or to, say this is what we believe and that's what the Romanian politicians wants to address. It's because the EU are pushing them. It's not because, and I used to call them room service politics, because it's like served. You are served and you take it. So you don't question because it's free of charge. So it's room service. And you are also paid with funds, to do it. So why not? Even though if I don't believe in it, why not? I mean, if this is what I have to do to become member of the EU, why not? So the problem comes when you become member of EU and you start to say, okay, now I think twice if I can implement or not these politics. So in a way, that's what I wanted to say. On the Romanian territory, and I'm sure that on other many territories in European states, the policies were friendly for Roma, either come with compensation of any kind. And what strikes me even today, and I'm a very proud Romanian, I'm a patriot, I'm a Romanian patriot, because I didn't leave my country, and I always defended that my country become a democratic one, and a space where my kids will grow up better than I did. But what made me sad all the time is that when you grow, and I have traveled a lot across Europe, and I can show you, I mean, I don't know much about countries, but I can show you maps where Roma are in different countries, or the maps of the Roma NGOs. What strikes me is that we Roma are never perceived as being component part of the national states which are today. Even though we fought in the army, in the Romanian army for the national state, even though in other countries we have been part of the fight for the formation of the nations, of the national states we have today, we are not perceived as being a component part of these national states. We are still foreigners in our states, even though we were there when these national states were formed. I mean, these modern national states were formed with us on their territory. But even today, we are perceived as being foreigners in our own countries, not full citizens, not real Romanians, not real. I don't talk about Norway because I'm I'm here, so I don't dare that. I mean, not real Italians, not real French. I mean, when it comes to France, I have so many things to say, but it's like for centuries, since the 13th and 14th centuries, we are on these territories, but we are still perceived as foreigners and strange people. These are very strange people. Why they are begging on the street? They have no dignity. I mean, why they do that? They're like, who are these foreigners? These are kind of savages people. Of course, maybe we are. I don't say that we are perfect people. Don't get me wrong. We have our problems too. So I don't say that we are like perfect people who have no sins, no problems. We do have a lot of problems, but I'm not here for that. So that's the slavery period. In 1918, the big Romania was formed, and many Romanians were part of the army which fought for this. And many Romani organizations have cited and made coalitions with Romanians for the Transylvania, for getting Transylvania back to get it together, the big Romania. So it was a period of, in between the two world wars, when a mobilization of Roma elite took place. We don't know yet where this elite came from because of liberation from slavery. We don't know how this elite evolved yet because we don't have researchers on that. But it was a period in between the two world wars when Roma elite have mobilized themselves and they have these strong organizations. I don't think even today we have such a strong organization where like 100,000 Roma paid monthly cotization to their association, yes. So that was like it's like a dream also for me to have this. So that was a mobilization, and people have fighted for and wrote letters and manifestos and everything. So it was a mobilization, and it was also a very good period of Romania, the modern Romania. It was really, really a very good period where the Romanian state was really, really good. I mean, the politicians. I mean, I think I would love to live in that period of Romania sometimes. So due to the good Romania of that time, the Roma also had found this space of expressing themselves. And anyway, of course, during the Second World War, we had in '42 the deportation to Transnistria, done by an order of Antonescu, the Marshal Antonescu. So basically, we only had like not even 30 years of freedom, of real freedom. Maybe like 70 years of, so it's like, let's say 70 years of trying to figure out how to live together with others. And sometimes we chose, because of these histories, to be apart. So if you ask me today, but it's your choice to be apart. It's your choice, Roma, you choose to be apart and you choose to be separated. Yes, of course, because we are scared. We are afraid that every time a wrong government can come and exterminate us. Look what's happening in America now, in the United States. Look what happens in Hungary now. In Hungary, you had Jobbik, who killed Roma in the villages. Nobody reacted. And now Jobbik agenda became part of the mainstream politics of Fidesz. And this is like, you know, what my ancestors always told me. They said, we are afraid. We never trust the system. Because what the system did to us all the time was to destroy and to, you know, to want to kill us or to assimilate us. in the best case, it was to assimilation. In the best case was assimilation. In the worst case was extermination. So there's no middle way in which now we try to find middle ways of how to live together and how to participate to politics and design politics together. But what happened in the history is like either assimilation, which was the best scenario, either extermination. So there was no middle way. So this is like, in 42 we started the extermination and the deportation. And the biggest, I'm very sad today because even today, the survivors of the deportation, they cannot get their pensions because the civil servants of the pension house, they don't believe that they were deported. Even though the Germans have compensated them for the same reason, the Romanian civil servants, they don't trust them. And we have like only 180 survivors of this in Romania, Roma, and 10% or more than 10% are denied because they are not believed by the Romanian bureaucracy. And they question all the time, and they want, even though they already, the folders are done and the Germany compensated them. So for the last 2 years, we had to fight with the House of Pensions and with all the Romanian bureaucracy after so many years to get access to these pensions for the survivors of the deportation. So I will not keep you long, but it's in the beginning of 90s, of course, during the communism. Maybe some of you, I mean, when I talk about communism, the period of communism in Romania, I am very moderate because I cannot say that communism was bad for everybody. Communism had its good and bad things. Of course, we didn't have freedom, but because I'm here today with you because I grew up in communism. I won't be here today with you if I would not grow up in the communist time. I did my school in communist time, and I'm proud. It was a very good school. So what did the communists to Roma was that the education was compulsory. You couldn't. So that was a good thing. That education was compulsory, and it was a very proactive relationship between teachers and family, which is not here today. I mean, in Romania today, it's like teachers don't care anymore. Why? To go to your house and see why you don't come to school now. But that was a time when teachers really cared about if you come to school or not and how you. So most of the, if you look to the people around, most of the elite of Roma comes from the Central and Eastern Europe. You find very few elite in the Western Europe, and I wonder why. So that's a question which maybe you have to answer to that, not me. Because, I mean, in Western European countries, there are not many Roma elites. There are activists, they are there, but you don't have very high number of Roma educated in Western Europe. The most educated Roma comes from the Central and Eastern Europe, and we are leading now the European mobilization of Roma. So that's a question to be answered by the Western societies. Why? Why it happened that? I don't know much, so, or I don't want to answer this question. But this is the communism. The communism also allowed poor Roma to go to school, like my father, and allowed, you know, to get a qualification. So many of the itinerant Roma were forced to sedentarize during the communism. So they are not travelers anymore, nomads anymore. And there's another category which were forced to go to work in factories. So after the communism, what happens? I mean, we are not qualified, all of us. So after the communism, the first ones to get out, it was the unqualified workers, and they were mostly Roma, some of them. I mean, I can send to Eva some numbers and everything. So this is what happened after communism. They got, and no jobs, and it's no qualifications, and sometimes fight for survival, because nobody can. And it's also not only Roma, Romanians too. It's a job market in Romania which is like very, very tight, and also the educational system is not connected with the job market. So it's not only about Roma who are the victims of that. It's also Romanians, poor Romanians, because you have a system which, like, everybody wants to have a university, and then you cannot get a job. But it's like educational system is not connected to the job market. So I think that's definitely one of the problems we have in Romania. And the fact that they are begging, I mean, Roma and Romanians are, maybe Roma are more visible, but not Roma like me. We are not visible for you, because there are Roma who are working too. But they are not visible for you, of course, because they are not every day on streets. So all people who migrated in this history of the world, they did it for the same reasons. Either persecution, either economical. And in case of Roma, it's no difference. It's for economical reasons. Of course, begging on the street of Oslo is better than not getting any job at home, and you get more than at home. So this is for sure. This is the drive for migration and for mobility. There's nothing. This maybe the way we do it might be different because of the begging. But I mean, begging in our societies is criminalized, while in some eastern of the world, it's a way of being. It's a way of. It's a choice. It's not criminalized. So depends. I mean, as far as it does not become violent, I don't have a problem with it. When it becomes aggressive, maybe we can start to have a problem with it. I also can tell you something which might be surprising you. People who are begging here, they are not begging at home. When they go back home, they are not begging. And begging is not a cultural. It's not part of Roma culture. So if you think that this is part of Roma culture, it's not. And people who are begging here on the streets, they are not begging home, back. So you have to understand that. It's because their dignity is played home back. It's not played here with you. The dignity of Roma is played back home with their families and with us. Their dignity is not played with you because they don't trust you. And you don't trust them. So it's a mutual mistrust between us and you. And this mistrust is because of the history. Can you blame us? I don't know. Or can I blame you? I can't. Of course, you grow up with your own histories. And I can't blame anyone. That's why I just, this is how I explain it. It's like there's a so deep mistrust, mutual mistrust between Roma and non-Roma. And it's due to these centuries of trying to survive. We had, maybe, you can accuse us of the choices we made across the history of the strategies, survival strategies. Maybe they were not the most orthodox ones. But, I mean, with the means we had, and we never had been part of the systems of power, except for the communist time. We were part of the Communist Party. And today, partially, we started to learn how to be part of the power system, to go to the politics and organize ourselves and go in the local elections and do things which, like, many people did until now. But this is only after '89. We are starting to learn how politics are done and what to do with this kind of access to power. And I think this mistrust is because in schools, we learn nothing about Roma. And at home, we learn that they are criminals, beggars, and stealing kids, even now, today. Some mothers say, "Oh, don't go there, they are like gypsies stealing you." And this is how we grow up, with this. And Roma, growing up with the same. Like, don't go there, the gadget are stealing you. So it's not only one side. We are saying the same about you to our kids. It's like, don't go there, gadget will steal you. Because, that was true. In Sweden and here and Switzerland, no Roma took the kids from the Roma families to put them in orphanages. Because that was the politics they thought that is right. So Sweden, Norway, and Switzerland in 70s, they took the kids from the Roma families and they put them in institutions. Because they said, this is the right way to do it, to deal with these people, with these bloody people. So that's somehow, we cannot blame each other, but the mistrust is there. And the mutual, and it's also, we also have prejudices, stereotypes about you as you have about us. So, but that's why, for example, I said to my very dear friend Tove, who have helped me a lot in the last 20 years, today, sometimes I wonder why I go to these kind of lectures. Because I think that these are like small drops in ocean. And I said, okay, in the end of the day, if 2 or 3 people will start and search more about Roma history or think twice, maybe I did my job. And I did this job for the last 26 years. And I've worked in very, very difficult situations, in violent situations, and situations where I have been subjected to racism, very bluntly and directly racism. But I still keep smiling, which is good. Sometimes I get sick because all this kind of hate, for me, when a person loses his or her humanity, I feel sick. When I feel this lack of humanity around me, I feel it in my body and my skin. So I get sick. So I think in the end of the day, it's not about being more open to Roma. It's to remain human and to believe in the humanity and the good and everyone. So I will stop here. My voice will disappear soon. And I'm open for your questions and also criticizing me. So thank you very much for your attention, and I will stop here.
Hallo? Hallo?
My name is Tollef Aas. I know practically nothing about Gypsy or Roma history. Some of it, but not through the last 20 years. I have 2 sets of questions for you. The first is, what are the various terms for a Roma in the Roma language of Romania and in present-day modern Romania?
Yeah.
That was the first set of questions. The second is, I have by various people been told that the best or most accommodating states to live in for Roma the last 100 years have been 3 places. 1, the Franco regime in Spain. 2, Russia in Tsarist times in the Russian-speaking areas of Russia, and also to some extent during Stalinist times. And 3, a few small areas in Greece, and to some very small extent in Finland. Would you comment upon this assessment? Thank you.
Okay, so thank you for the questions, because the first one I had it on my list, but I forgot to talk about it. I apologize that I want to sit down a bit. And the first one, of course, maybe you know that across Europe there are very numerous names which were given to us, like Tsigan, Tsiganski in Slavic word, Zigeuner in Germanic speaking, Gitanos in Spanish, Gypsies in English speaking, Gitan in French, Tzigan in French too. So Sinti, there's a group of Roma which is in Germany, Netherlands, and everything. So we were given these names. When we came on, and you have to understand, and I will tell you the story of this name. So when we came first in European territory, they didn't know who we are and where we come from. And some of the European, populations and that 13th, 14th centuries, they thought that we are Egyptians. So one wave, it was in south. So that's why Spain, and from the fact that they thought that we are Egyptians, it evolved these Gitanos and Gypsies. It's like from Egyptians, Gypsies. And that's why in some parts of Europe, we were given that name, like Gypsies and Gitanos or Gitan. Tsigan comes from, it has a Greek roots, and they were like untouchables. They called us untouchables, and this is Antiganoi. So do not touch them, because we are strange. I mean, we are always very strange. So from Antiganoi, do not touch them, it evolved this Tsigan, this old variation of Tsigan naming us. So for centuries, while in Romania, in these 5 centuries, the word Tsigan was associated with a juridical state of slavery. So Tsigan was equals slavery. So that was in Romania. So for centuries we didn't mind. Yeah. In that period of 20s, 30s, the Romani mobilization started to question that names because they were like pejoratives, very, very pejoratives. And this is the same story as Afro-Americans and Negroes in the United States. And in our language, in Romanes, when someone starts ask you, who are you, like kon santu, and this is like it's a language related to old Sanskrit, our language. You say mesim rom, I am Rom, like if you are a man, and mesim romni, if you are a woman. So the name Roma comes from our language, is the name we give to ourselves. But for centuries we didn't mind it that people called us Gypsies or Tsigan. Even in Romania, we didn't mind it. I mean, we, the activists in the beginning of the 90s, we used both Tsigan and Rom, or Roma/Tsigan, or... But in 95, in Romania, that was a memorandum of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, internal memorandum, in 95, in full democracy, circulated to all bureaucracies in Romania, saying that from tomorrow, the official name of Roma will be Tsigan. And we got a letter from the local Ministry of Education saying, we cannot cooperate any longer with you because you are a Roma organization and we only cooperate with Tsigan organizations. And we're like, what is going on in 95? We didn't mind that they call us Gypsies or Tsigan. I mean, it was important what they do. I mean, what we do together. So in 95 we had this story, abusive stories in Romania. So then we started a very strong debate, and we have manifested. It was not about the name mainly, it was about the way the decision was taken. Very undemocratic, secret. It looked like in 42 when the circular was sent by Antonescu to, to deportate Roma. So that is the the story on the name, and thank you for bringing up, because this is like And some of the Roma are saying we call ourselves Tsigan. But for us, politically correct is Roma, and I will stick for it with this. I cannot get out of the dictionary the word Tsigan or from the mouth of people, but I can force politicians and authorities to use the correct language. So that's for me. That's where I stand. That's my personal stand. I cannot influence how people talk on the streets, but I can influence how politics are done. And this is on the language. And unfortunately, in Romania, it's an ongoing discussion, and it appears in the public and political space very often. And this is because we destroy the image of Romania, because it's an association between Roma and Romania, like the name. So I can understand that, but it's like I don't think that we are the only ones destroying the Romanian image outside of Romania. We have a lot of politicians who do that, but they cannot assume. So that's the story. About the others, I have to admit my limitations. About Franco regime, I cannot say much, but I heard too, but I cannot say that much. But in Finland, yes, because in Finland it was a very liberal politics on minorities, and like you have language now, you have since 70s you have committee, a national committee, consultative committee of Roma for the government, and you had this very consultative and participatory politics in Finland. So that was very good, and it also a protection of language, history, and customs. So that's Finland, yes. And Greece, some part of Greece are wonderful. There's a town in Greece where you can find a very strong Romani organization, and they have the only shops, and they had given scholarships to the young people to go to school. Yeah. So in Greece, you find islands of mobility and mobilization, and where it's very good to live. Yeah, it's okay. I know. I don't. But also, it's important to say the first Roma women organization, it was established in 30s in Greece. So Greece also was all the time a territory where you find both. Because, for example, when it was the Olympic Games, they have destroyed the Roma settlement because they didn't want people to see the Roma settlement next to the stadium. But also you can find these kind of small islands where mobilization and working together, and Greeks, and Russia. I don't know what to say. I think what was good is, I cannot say about Tsar period, but it's the communist period. Russia was the URSS was the space where the most advanced politics on identity and culture and minority language was. So we had the Roma theater in Moscow. We had poets. We had mobilization of Roma. I have to admit my limitations here, and I don't want to be smart without knowing things. But what I know is that it was a very strong mobilization of Roma around identity, arts, culture, production, and we had poets and activists who were very strong in that time, and many famous families who were going to school and became professors. And that's unfortunately after 89, 88, 89, the Roma theater was closed, so we don't have. But it was a huge mobilization around history, language, and culture, like dance, music, poetry, and everything. So maybe you know more than me. You are welcome to contribute if you want to. I mean, it's like if you know more, go ahead. No, it's okay. I don't know more. I'm sorry. I'm a political animal. I don't know much about. I know more about political mobilization and civic mobilization. Do you have any other questions? Oh, I hope you're not very bored. Oh yeah.
Hi, thank you very much for the presentation. I think I'd have many questions, but I will stick with three.
I was hoping not.
um, the first one you mentioned that your father ran away to go to school, and I was wondering if you could comment a little bit on how it's the relationship between Roma and school and education today. Um, the second question would be about the policies that you were mentioning, that many countries have policies towards Roma, but uh, they're probably not very efficient. What's the scenario in Romania currently with the current government? How do they? What is their policies for the inclusion of Roma? And the last question would be the relation between a society, because I've heard different versions of people saying that some people considered Roma part of the Romanian identity, and they're part of the nationality, and other people are still very racist and everything. So if you could comment a little bit on how's the relation between the population and Roma in Romania. Thank you.
um, Education, I mean, education is not about trauma. I mean, I think what I always say, the situation in which the education of Roma is today, unfortunately, is a mirror of dysfunctionalities of the educational system in Romania, because these are most visible ones. But they are not the only victims of this. I mean, if I take my kids who are like 21 years old now, and they've been to the high school, they were not attracted by the high school. They didn't find anything attractive by going to school. So if you find this, it's not about Roma as it is about how the educational system is so dysfunctional sometimes. And it's so elitist sometimes. It does not invest in poor people or kids. It invests very much in performant people, and it's no more a business of the state. It became a business of the families. So state care in education in Romania is no more there. It's only the families care about. It's like, so that's and when it comes to Roma, you know that we are almost. I think we are the number one in Europe on illiterate people. Illiteracy. And there is no policies on Ministry of Education addressing this. Of course, you can find a lot of Roma among those. But what I'm saying is, like, there is a system of education which does not look to the well-being of kids. And the relationship is like, of course, we have, for example, for Roma, I mean, we have um, isolated villages which are very far away from from the schools. Or you have settlements where there's only Roma inhabited, and sometimes they say there's segregation, so they have to be moved. There's also instances of racism from the educators in classrooms, like expectations of some of the teachers, because some of teachers are brilliant. I mean, I met very young teachers who are brilliant with all kids, including Roma. So some of the teachers, they don't have any expectations from their Roma kids in classroom, so they don't push them very far. So that's also, we have one set, which are the politics of the education in Romania, and this is like bad for everybody, if you ask me, for everybody who is not rich or belong to any middle class educated intellectual family. So this is like very bad for most of the Romanian kids. I mean, school is no more attractive. I mean, that's point. That's no attractive, and it's like teachers' education. It's teachers are playing power with the kids, so kids don't like that anymore, and they are not adapted to the technology also and to the way of thinking. So that's an entire reform of this education. Secondly, you have these instances of pure racism and segregation, and like, and also the reaction of Romanian parents to having Roma kids in the classroom with their kids sometimes. So this is like two things. The third one is the good thing. there are very good things have done in the last 20 years, 26 years since I'm an activist. We have pushed the ministry. So what we have done is like we have these school mediators, Roma, who are going and working in these like very isolated settlements on villages and big Roma localities, where they work with school together to get the kids to school. Yeah, so this is one of the reasons. In another one is that we have the Romani language classes in some of these big schools where Roma are. So the Romani language is taught in school. One of the, I mean, I have to be a proud Romanian now. One of the strongest country in politics on Roma is Romania. And it's like on policies on Roma. And some of the policies on Roma which Romania invented and applied, thanks to us, they were taken by others. These mediators, they were taken by all the others around Europe. So we have health mediators, school mediators. So this is like, but on education, that's what I can say. More like we have teachers, and now we are starting in the Roma Education Fund to give scholarships for Roma to go to become teachers. So Roma to go to school, to University of Teachers and become teachers. So that's what we try to do. And also try to work with the ministry on the curricula, on intercultural education, on civic education. So we are not looking only to the Roma lenses. We are looking to this, all the others things. So policies on Roma. I mean, until now, us, Spain and Finland have the best policies in Europe, on paper. But no, Romania also, I mean, we also have in the Ministry of Education, we have since '92 reserved places for Roma in universities, and which is really good. And it helped us to, fill the gap in education. And now we have thousands of people have finished universities, Roma people, because of this. And then later on we have had a high school reserved places for Roma. So these were like compensatory policies for Roma, which are very good, I can tell you, in education. It gives, I mean, if you ask me, they should not be kept forever. For a medium term, yes, not forever. But for a medium term, it's very compensatory. So you compensate the gaps which are between the majority and minority, like Roma. So we have very good policies, and we are the only country in the world which has a national agency for Roma, which is a governmental agency which deals with monitoring and implementing the politics of Roma within the government of Romania. There's a very weak institution. Let's understand. It's a very weak institution, but it's there. And we, the Roma activists, try to make it to work better and stronger. So you have pluses and minuses in Romania. It's a very interesting and rich country when it comes to this discussion. And we have a National Cultural Center, and it's a network of people who are working on local mayories and local councils. We have like 160 Roma elected on the local councils, in the local by-elections, on the Roma party list. We have 2 Roma MPs in the parliament, one on the ethnic party, one in the Socialist Party, Social Democrat Party. So there's an entire picture of people and roles we play in Romania. That's one of the, I think, it's the highest number in the Europe. It's in Romania of Roma. So this is like politics and policies are played all the time. So we are very busy. Very busy. And the last question was about?
About the relation between
Roma and Romania? That's a very difficult question. It's a very difficult question. It's
yeah, I've heard a lot about people saying that they are part of
Romania, but some of them say,
there's so many racist comments.
yeah.
It's really freaking.
And I think what happened with the mobility of Romanian citizens, all of us, is that Romanians who were in mobility felt the need to separate from Roma. And that's why in Italy, in UK and France, you find this kind of separation because they want, these are not Romanians, they are Roma. And it ended up with the ministry, the prime minister, the young one. God, I don't remember his name. No, it was ours, young one too. No, it was Romanian one. Sorry, I don't remember his name. That's like a lack of memoriam, not lapsus. Lipsus memoriam, not lapsus memoriam. Ponta. When Ponta was a prime minister, he gave an interview in BBC and he said, Roma are not Romanians. If the prime minister said that, what can you say? So, yeah, part of the society think like that, and they think that we are not part of the Romania and that the Romania belongs only to Romanian ethnicities. And it's not only about Roma. Maybe in the case of Roma, it's more comfortable to go against us because we have no national state to defend us. In case of Hungarians, it's not so easy because you have Hungary next door. So you think twice when you talk about Hungarians. But with Roma, it's so comfortable. There's no national state which poses security problems or any threat to Romania or to any other country to say, okay, you don't respect my people. I mean, we don't have such power. And we are powerless from this respect. And we don't pose any security problems to anyone. Only moral problems, security, no. So that's, I mean, in politics, we are a subject which is not a political subject only because we became a political subject when people started to be, the fears of people started to be accumulated. That's the purpose. That's the moment when we became a political subject in the European Union. When the Western society started to be afraid of us because they saw us on the streets, begging or I don't know what, or living in shelters next to the city and everything. So I will always say, I'm thankful to my brothers and sisters who are in mobility. Because of them, we became a political subject. Otherwise, nobody will really give a damn about it. And I'm very cynical now. Nobody will give a damn about Roma if you will not see us on the street. Because we are away, hidden. So let them be there for centuries, and we don't have to deal with them. So, but it's also in Romania hope, because there's a young generation of activists and politicians who are more open to that, and they are very more involved. And it's like I have colleagues, artists, politicians, and activists who are younger, and there's like a energy there which is captured, and people are more active and more present to what happens in Romanian politics, including on Roma. On many other subjects like corruption and going on the streets and all this stuff, Roșia Montana or whatever. But it's also, it's a young generation of Romanians who really see things differently. And there's hope for me. Otherwise I will not stay there so much and be an activist so long. But it's a hope. I hope. I just keep hoping. That's all. Sorry, I'm very... Yes? This here, there, and maybe you after that. Sorry.
Hello.
Hey.
Thank you for the presentation. Some years ago, I was a member in an organization to help the Romas. We
Yeah.
have Romas in Oslo in Norway. And what are the main things we were struggling for was to get contact with parents to let their children go to school.
Mm-hmm. Here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because they were Norwegian Romas. But it was impossible.
Uh-huh.
How is the situation with that today?
In Romania or in...
No, where you come from?
I'm coming from Romania, but I know many communities across Europe.
Yeah.
But
Because this organization, they had to give up.
yeah,
It was like in the 70s.
like in 70s, yeah. Okay. You see, there's a difference between Central and Eastern Europe and Western Europe when it comes to when it comes to cooperation with the system. In Central and Eastern Europe, because we have lived during the communism, we are more comfortable to go to school, and we trust, some of us trust the non-Roma and the non-Roma institutions. And some of us, modern people, know that without cooperating with these institutions, we can't do much. But in Western Europe, because you didn't have these polities, Roma have chosen, because of the extermination and all these stories, have chosen to stay apart and to let them be apart. And that's a reaction because of mistrust I was talking about. They don't trust your schools. They don't trust that the schools will give them something good. And they can live without going to school because they have maybe jobs and they can manage without going to school. Us in Romania, we can't manage without going to school. But here, they can manage without a school because they have other ways of assuring an income. And there's a deep, deep mistrust. And I always ask why they don't trust you. And they don't see the value in sending their kids to school. Because they can make a life without going to school. So, I'm sorry.
They are losing their culture, the parents.
These two.
They're losing contact with the children.
Yeah, also they want to keep apart because the story taught them that the history taught them that you don't have to trust them, the non-Roma, and that's their choice. But unfortunately, if you ask me as a politician, when I came here like 4 years ago, I was like, what is going on here? Why is this like that? There's no mobilization, no fight for. And we're like, why? I mean, because I think, I'm sorry, the Roma from Norway, they live a comfortable life. They have a comfortable life being apart, and you have also live a very comfortable life, them being apart. So nobody is disturbing nobody. So I think they are in a comfort zone given by economical situation they are in. They don't care about other things, and they don't see in past. But it's like also in Norway, it took many years to recognize the war period and the persecution of Roma. It took many years. So I just hope that there will be younger people who will get involved in this and go to school. But this is there's a very small community, and it's easier to be controlled by the leaders and choices and everything. So I don't blame them in a way. Of course, I would like to see more young people going to school and be more active and going in a Norway politics and become active in the scene, in the public sphere. But they don't trust. They don't trust you. That's the only explanation I have. And there's also some groups in Romania, they don't trust the system. Because the system was constantly the one which kicked them off and exterminated them or assimilated them. So that's a historical mistrust. I'm sorry. I don't have any other explanation for that. I think it needs some young people to get out. 1, 2, 3, and then they will. I mean, in case of my father, he was an example for his family. Many, like 10 generations after he started to go to school, and they saw that it was a success. All his community now, it goes to school. School became a very powerful thing in my. So you need 1, 2. Don't concentrate on everybody. 1, 2, 3 who wants to get out, and that's. So it was here. A question. That's what I would do. Concentrate on 3 of them, 3, 4.
Hello. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would like to know your opinion upon whether we should. We see Roma people all the time on the street in Oslo, and should we? And they are begging. Should we give them money? There is a discussion. Some people say that if you give them, they will keep on and so on. And but you feel you have a bad feeling if you don't give them money, you know?
That's a very difficult
dilemma
question.
for
It's
many
it's a dilemma for me too, not only for you. They won't stop. That's for sure. Even if you don't give them, they won't stop. They will find other ways. Because we are very smart as people. We find our ways through history. um, even if you don't give them, they will find their ways and they will come back. And I don't think not giving them it's a solution. And also think that they will be here for many, many years. And while you do not address this question or work with them, you will always have it. So I mean, this is a personal choice if you give them or not, but I personally don't give to people who have kids, who use the kids for begging. But I didn't see people with kids on the street here. Personally, I don't give because I don't find that using your kid for begging is appropriate. That's my personal beliefs. I don't see it as a political, I mean, I talk with people now, I don't talk with politicians, so maybe I'll say something else when I talk to politicians. But, or people who are like playing or doing something, it's like, I give it a pleasure. I don't know, and there are many Romani women, and I don't like it. But in a way, I know that my money will serve their families, so I give them. But they don't beg home. Back home they don't beg. And I always talk with them when I go on the streets and everything. So maybe you should take a decision of what do you do? How do you work with them? How you discuss with them, and also find the stories behind this begging. Who are these people? I mean, they have interesting stories. Some of them very, very interesting stories. So have a human touch to begging. I mean, discover their stories. Yeah. Sorry, it's very personal. And it's very touchy. Yeah, it's very touchy.
Well, thank you so much. I can't eat it. Thank you so much for your talk. I have over the last year come to know a Roma couple that stand outside our shop. They are not begging, but they are selling their magazines. And I've tried to establish a discussion or talk with this couple. It's very difficult when they don't understand one word of English or German or French or anything. But my question is, this has to do with this point of distrust, which is very, very understandable when you look at the history. Now, if there was one thing the present government in Romania were to do or say right now to try and rebuild that trust, what would that be?
Oh my God, that's a very interesting question. What I would say to Romanian government? Yeah. I can only say that what I said in 2014 to a room full of 500 people in the European Parliament. It was the Roma summit. And I said that I'm tired to demonstrate that I'm a good citizen. I'm tired to demonstrate, all my life was a demonstration. Demonstrate that I'm clean, that I'm smart, that I'm a good citizen, and everything. So I would just say to the Romanian government, treat us like, human beings, and that's all. I mean, if I will ask something today from the Romanian government, of course I have an entire list. But if I would say something to Romanians, to all Romanians today, it's what I said in the European Parliament. All my life was a demonstration to prove to you, the others, that I am smart, clean, good citizen, good woman, also, because, and I'm tired. And sometimes I'm tired, because some of us, the Romani activists in Romania, are tired to, take it over and over again and say, like, we are educated, we are here too. and there are many people like me, but you don't see them. That's the problem. You see the beggars on the street. So if I would go to the Romanian government, that's what I would say. But that's very philosophical in a way. It's not really kind of very political, pragmatic request from the Romanian government. So maybe I will ask them. I think I have an obsession lately. I will ask them to start and have a commission, governmental commission, for studying the Roma slavery in Romania, and to start a public debate on that. Because for the health of the Romanian nation, I think this is a very healthy discussion to have it in public. It's not for Roma only, it's for the health of the Romanian nation. So that's what I would ask them. Yes.
My name is Tori Arbildenberg. First of all, I would like to thank you for your brilliant lecture. You have got all the main points, and it was so well put.
Thank you.
Secondly, I have two questions.
Yes.
First of all, you're not only a scholar, but also known as a Roma feminist.
Yes.
Yes. You consider yourself a Roma feminist. What is a Roma feminist, and how are relations with Roma and the Gache feminists, non-Roma feminists?
Oh.
That's one question. Secondly, as far as I know, you're now on the board of the new European Roma Institute,
Yes.
with head in Berlin.
Yes.
Yes. What do you consider? How do you consider art and culture as a part of Roma struggle for liberation from all the bad things which have happened to Roma people?
Okay, very two tough
I know
questions.
it's a big things, but
Yeah, I mean, tomorrow morning I will have a workshop on the Romani feminism. I mean, as a Romani feminist, I have started to raise these questions in '98. It was 7 years after I started to be very young an activist in 1991. And in '98, I have started to question the status of Romani women activists, not Romani women on the local level. Let's be very clear about that. I was questioning how we were treated in the Roma activism, and the jobs we did, and the power struggle, power relationship within the activism. So I was never talking about, Romani women in a very, how it is, general way. I was talking about Romani activists. So it was 99, no? I mean, Tove knows. In 99, I have presented a report to the Council of Europe, and I have raised questions like prostitution, early marriages, and trafficking. That was in '99, and power relationship within, like how marriage is used to be a coin of Romani identity. In that time, I was not a feminist, but it preoccupied me, and I was accused of being a traitor by the Romani movement. I was accused being a traitor and a woman without any Romani, not a true Roma, because I had the guts to discuss about taboo issues in public and to bring it in the public. So I was accused by traitor. I didn't mind. But now if I look back, I am so happy. Because these questions became part of the mainstream discussions of Roma politics and Roma activism, and you can find women leaders of Romani NGOs, women politicians, Romani women involved in politics and everything. So I'm so happy. It took me 15 years of struggle, and I also mobilized a lot of Romani women across Europe. For 7 years I was coordinating a European network of Romani women activists. While in the feminist movement, I remember in 99 was a very difficult year. I went to a caucus of meeting of feminists across Europe, and I thought, I will find my sisters there. My struggle sisters in the feminist movement, and I was just eager to, construct solidarity with them. But they start to why you are here, and why we should look to Roma women. You have your Roma movement, go there. Why we should look? And then some of them asked me if I can read in Palm for them. That was the best thing which happened in my life. Going to a feminist movement and be asked if I can read their palm, and I was like, what? I'm not here for that. I mean, if I would read it, I will foresee in this moment. But that was really, really kind of. I do not say that all of them. Some of them they were very supportive and solidary. Without some of the feminists of Europe and States and South America, we could not be with the Romani women issues today here. But some of them were racist. Even in the feminist movement. When it came to Romani women, I had to face racism. And it was really bad because it's like, it really hurts you deep, you know? Because you feel this is like struggle, feminist struggle, ideology, you know, you believe that everything is fine, the world is beautiful, and then you got struck by by these dreams. So in a way I was for like 10 years, one leg in the Romani movement, one leg in the feminist movement. So I connected the two. That was my job. And I also deconstructed the Romani movement, and I was accused by Roma men because I was separating the Roma movement. And I said, I didn't want, because if I wanted a separation, I would do an international Romani women organization, which I didn't. But I said, I wanted to deconstruct the Romani movement. So I challenge you men and old women and other women who are not feminist. And today we can sit together, Roma men, women, young, LGBT Roma also. So all people, and that's people, Roma people, are not only defined by Roma male, middle-aged, married, heterosexual, with a certain education and everything. So that was my struggle, and I finally arrived in that moment when I'm very happy. 15 years deserved. So that's my answer to that. Yeah, it's not easy. Even today, when I enter in the room, they said, okay, here she comes again. We have to speak about women now. So, but it's good. I'm like a police, ideological police. Yeah, it's not easy. I even had troubles with my husband because of that, who was an activist too. Thank you very much. So, if there are no more questions.
Go back to the picture. Nicoletta, yeah. And we haven't talked about role models at all, which you can be both for the Roma activists or for any other activists. And I mentioned we had our institutions had a common project, and it was much about archives. So I would like to give you a book based on archives, which we have here at the Holy Center. Not Roma at all, but still very good reading.
I can imagine.
Oh, yeah. Og til dere andre vil jeg bare si at i kveld fortsetter Jagori-festivalen, altså Roma Music Festival, Jagori. Det er fortsatt mulig å få med seg gala-konserten i Kulturkirken Jakob. Og så er alle invitert til utstillingsåpning på torsdag klokka 13. Åpner vi en utstilling som kommer fra Polen, fra et annet samarbeidspartner, Polen-museet. Neste søndag er det Druidene som samtaler med Monica Chan.